definitely in the camp kill them entirely. I think we are in a place where 3 to 5 years from now, this 100 people company is a one-person company at best. Everyone is super AI native and like everyone's using AI to the most possible within their respective function. And I saw that this just creates like a compounding effect.
Oh my God, Dios mío, this is, oh my God, Dios mío.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Hotfix podcast. Let's get right into it. On a couple of episodes, we talked about what makes a great PM in the era of AI. We agreed that PMs need to become builders, that teams will shrink, and that it's never been more exciting to work in product. Yesterday, we had a very long and heated WhatsApp debate, and we realized that we actually disagreed on something fundamental. So today's question, will coding agents create more PM jobs or will it kill them?
I'm definitely in the camp kill them entirely. And what I mean with this is that I believe that any company today that needs 100 people to build software over time will get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think the timelines get accelerated again and again and again. I think this is like my biggest learning from the last 18 months in AI. I'm a optimist, like technologically extremely optimistic, always thinking it will be huge and it will be very, very like autonomous and whatever. But every time I couldn't have predicted how much better it got and how much more it did. So I was actually not as optimistic as reality taught me. And I think maybe 6 months ago, I would have said that, the trio, product, engineering, and designer converged to one person, like one person teams to manage whatever multiple people manage today. And that would mean in my scenario, a 100 people company becomes a 30 people company. I think we are in a place where 3 to 5 years from now, this 100 people company is a one person company at best. And that means that this person is some kind of builder, seller, marketer, a founder, right, of like a company that sells a service. And in that scenario, there's not a lot of space for a lot of people. In that scenario, 99 people are not working in that industry, in that job anymore. And therefore, I believe that.
Why are you thinking that way? What changed your thinking? Maybe let's share with us some details of what you tried privately and also what changed for you professionally, some anecdotes.
Yeah, so I think there's a few changes that happen, right? So I think the first thing is I joined a startup now 3 months ago that is like an AI first company, right? Like founded 18 months ago. Everyone is super AI native and like everyone's using AI to the most possible within their respective function. And I saw that this just creates like a compounding effect of like everyone being so much more productive. I think like in companies before, I was like always an AI advocate and trying to use AI, but I think it's different if you're 1 out of 10 people that is like doing 95% of their work in AI. You cannot create like this immense speed because I think like you're only as fast as slowest person in like the team, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so I think this is the first thing that changed for me. And I think that for me just means is a learning that companies that don't act that way have no chance of winning. And therefore, these like super AI native companies will win, and they are by definition smaller than larger companies. So I think this is already something that creates a shift for a 100-person company moving to a 20-person company, right? Like this reduction of 5-fold. And then like in the last weeks, I think with this hype around OpenClaw, and I tried it extensively. And it's the first time I came in contact with an agent that did things, right? And I think like if you go to the GitHub repo, the tagline is the agent that does things. And it actually is what like the exact feeling that I had. It's an agent that did things. And I was able to like give an agent a task and it just completed it. Like give it a question and it completed it. Give it a task that it shouldn't be able to complete and it was creative and found ways to complete it. And these are all things I had to do in the past and that made me less effective, I would say. I would have to, like, I don't know, look things up or like look at how are we doing this currently, or like, there is a repository of interviews somewhere, so let me have a look and like download this so I can give it to Claude, and then like take this CSV Claude gives me and put it into an Excel sheet and like run some analysis and then cross-reference with like data that I find in my like analytics tool and whatnot. You can just ask an agent to do that. Like, hey, I don't know, we are thinking about doing this. Is there evidence that we should do this? And if you before are brave enough to give it access to your analytics tool and to the like call like logs you have, or to like, I don't know, other interview transcripts, or like your tool of interviews, or like your product management tool where you like store the ideas or whatever, if you give it this access, it can just do this. And this means to me that, and this is like OpenCloud, right? It's like a 3-month project by a single person. If this is what is possible, I think the innovation we will see in the next 12 months and the next 24 months will not be smaller. It will be more and more and more. Mm. And to me, this means that there will be more things like these, even better, much, much better things that do more work. And that just means that work like PMs do, there's little left in that domain that can't be done by an agent. I think there's like conversations with other humans. I think that's pretty much concluding it very, very quickly. And yeah, if you just do that, I think you just don't need as many people. You can have one person to run an entire software company.
Yeah. Okay, so Stefan, you will take the apocalyptic side of things. Maybe not the apocalyptic side of things, but the extreme side of things where most roles will converge into one. Yeah. And I will try to make a case for an optimistic scenario.
By the way, I think my case is the optimistic scenario for humanity. Maybe not product managers, but humanity.
Maybe for humanity, yeah. I will try to paint the positive picture also for our listeners, for mainly product managers today. I recently read a tweet which very accurately captures my mood, which is most smart people I know are currently very anxious about the future. There's a lot of dystopic scenarios out there, and I think it might be also refreshing that eventually it turns out well, and maybe also a bit more boring than most people think. I also recently started a project. It's an app that I built for my wife. She's a medical doctor. And then I found out, hey, this could be actually also helpful for other doctors. So I built a full product out of it. It has obviously a website. I'm also currently running some ads for it. It has an iOS app and a web app. And the crazy thing about this is that it's not impressive at all that someone who cannot write code can build this. But still, by the time I did this 1 month ago, I was blown away that I could do something like that. But one thing I found out is, yes, writing the code was impressive, but it probably solved only 5% of the problem. Because what I'm now definitely struggling with is acquisition and activation. How do I let users know that this exists? And how do I get them to use an app for preparing their taxes, which is not a task that they love? So they actually really create the habit out of it and use it. And I think that this problem might not go away with coding agents. Writing code is free, cheap, fast. But to make actually people pay for that written code is what the product manager's position was about anyways. And I think there could be also a scenario, and maybe let's stay realistic about today's capabilities. 2 months ago, or maybe I think it was actually longer, 4 months ago, we said it's never been that exciting to be a product manager. And looking at today's state, I would still say the same. It makes a lot of fun currently to be a product manager, to build your own app. You can talk to users and actually respond to their wishes, which was, for me, one of the most frustrating things always when being a PM, talking to users, getting hundreds of feedbacks and seeing where the app currently breaks, and you know that you cannot act on 99% of it anyways. And now you can. And I think as of today, it has still never been as exciting to be a product manager. I know it would be also naive to not think that the pace of innovation will not accelerate, but let's assume it won't, or it will plateau out, or it will somehow stay similar as today. Then it could be a somewhat positive scenario.
And why don't you think that in this scenario that I painted, it isn't exciting to be a PM? Because being on this apocalyptic side, I'm more excited than I've ever been in my career. I feel like I'm suddenly in 1998 when the internet was invented, and I was there starting my first internet company. This is how I feel so much motivation and excitement about, and me as well, right? Not super technical, maybe a bit more technical, having coded in the past, but I never enjoyed this part. And also the agents, I think the problem that you described, I don't think it's coding agents, right? I think this makes the future different if we say, do coding agents do that? But agents, I think an activation problem is usually an intellectual problem, right? How are people responding to the app? What are they saying? What do we need to change in the solution to make it different? So I think very much an intellectual problem where you need to crunch data, understand behaviors, understand reasons of why something could happen or does happen or doesn't happen. I think all of these things is where these agents accelerate. That's why they're good at coding in my mind. That's why they can solve complex problems by I don't know, doing things that a human brain is just not as equipped as a system that can just understand and have context about much more data than I can, right? I think my context window is much, much smaller than 200,000 tokens or whatever, however you would want to measure it. So I think these problems are solvable in the future, right? So I think the last piece that then stays that you describe is acquisition. And I believe if you need to compete for a sales job as a product manager with people that did sales for a very long time, I don't think many PMs will win that competition. So if it's actual sales, actual reaching out to other humans and making them believe about the value of whatever was built there and understanding their problem, there's people that do this super well for a career. I don't think that this is where PMs need to head, but I think where PMs are better equipped than anyone else is by making use of this conversion, right? They are this fuzzy role that exists between building and talking to users and understanding problems and making software out of it. Company that then uses lots and lots of agents to solve all these problems. There's no better equipped person in any company that has this spectrum of dev, I don't know, touch points in all the different parts of what makes software companies good. Many PMs have touched into marketing, into sales, into building, into, I don't know, maintenance of an app, support, and many PMs are included, we need to be able to support users and talk to them and intercom chats or whatever, right? So this is, I think PMs are better equipped than ever. They will not stay PMs as we call it today, or the role as it is defined today. I think there's edge cases to this, right? Enterprises, large enterprise companies, banks. If you're a PM at a bank, you will stay a PM at a bank for a long time because they will not change in 3 years because of technological change. That's why startup banks N26 or Wise or whatever, they do things differently fundamentally, right? Some banks still act like it is 1980. Their core banking system is on a mainframe, right? There's no reason for any of this. There is no, if you think about it logically, they shouldn't do it, but they do it because they did forever, and changing it is actually risky, right? And they don't win against N26 on a technology play, right? They need to play a different game. So if this is what you are doing today, you are fine. If you're working for a 50 people B2B SaaS as a PM, maybe make sure that you upskill yourself very, very much, because I don't think that this is what the future will be very kind to.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the biggest problem of the product management role was that it actually exists to justify investments. You always had costs to everything that companies build, and the product manager was there to manage these costs. Or in the even worse case, they were there to optimize those costs, to do project management, to just ensure that a group of engineers deliver something on time. And that is not going to be a skill that is needed anymore. I think so. Also for my side project, which is basically a full company, I'm doing marketing, I'm doing some sales, but actually what I'm doing the most is real product management work. The most value I get for my application is by talking to users. You mentioned, for example, an activation problem that could be also solved by agents. I give you an example why I had a user interview, and what my app does is that it collects documents, it categorizes them, and ultimately you get a link to your tax advisor with all your documents prepared and as an Excel sheet. And one of my beta users asked me, she tried it, but she's not sure why she should use that instead of her generic Google Drive or her generic Dropbox. And that's how I found out, hey, this is actually my competition. She was already using a Google Drive for her documents, shared all the documents in there. And sometimes I made a strategic observation for everything that I built. The strategic observation was, I need to provide added value compared to a generic file storage. And that's why I decided, hey, I need to also extract data. I need to turn unstructured data, documents into structured data. And based on that, I can do many things. I can prepare an Excel sheet. I can send reminders. I can give a summary of everything that they have. I can also build a dashboard, how much they spent, etc. This is an insight that would be hard to observe and find out if you do not talk to people. And I think this human element of software building might still exist as long as software will not entirely build itself, for which I don't necessarily see a scenario.
And I don't disagree with you here, right? So I simply believe that you don't need to do anything other than having this conversation.
Yeah.
Like just sending this transcript to an agent, or like the video, or like the entire thing, and have it like go from there. No more doing, no more executing on this insight, no more actually building this insight. Maybe there's 5 other things in that call that you didn't pay attention to anymore, because your brain like then hyper focused on this. I need to provide additional value on top of Google, because this is the insight you took out of this call, right? There's a high chance that your brain overfitted on this like problem, and there's 5 other things that you can find out in there.
Sure.
And I think agents are really good at processing information and then doing something with that information. I think not yet at a place today where you just give them a call and they then know what to change in an app. I don't think that we are 10 years away from that. And that brings me back to this thing of like someone working in customer success today has exactly these conversations. Someone working in implementation today has exactly these conversations. They are as well equipped to do well in this job as a product manager, maybe even better, because they only had these conversations for the last 10 years of their career. And they just were even less empowered, because they had to then talk to PM that just told them it's in the backlog, which meant it will never come. And this stops, right? Now they can have these conversations with customers and understand them and have it fixed. So this is what I mean, right? That there's just so many people that are well equipped for a job like this, I think, that now compete on this, right? Because if then customer success doesn't have to do any entering data into a CRM and writing tickets for product managers to look at, or all this crap work anymore, they have a lot more time to do this other work, talking to users, understanding their pains. And then this gets translated into product. I think this is like my whole point, is that there's just a convergence towards this talk to customers and solve their problems role. And it's not an engineer, a product manager, a customer success manager, someone in implementation, someone in support, someone in sales, someone in everything, but it's much, much less human power you need to build, maintain, and improve software.
Yeah. I want to bring up also one other possible positive scenario. Let's assume SaaS will collapse. No company is going to buy a SaaS product anymore. But they still need, let's call it, digital processes. If someone purchases something from a web shop, it needs to trigger something else, and this was previously done by a software. Usually, these are agent networks instead of software. And I think that's one thing where we agree. A new job that will be very likely created at scale is agent orchestrators and agent monitoring. And every company that currently spends a specific amount on software will need a couple, one or more, agent orchestrators, which in my opinion is a nice job.
Yeah, and by the way, I think what is one important thing I believe is that in the short term, I actually think that it will lead to the best time in SaaS that ever existed. And what I mean with this is that I believe like this erosion of the need for humans to do a job. And I think it's not product and engineering in the first place. There's other jobs that go first. A company that then builds like a very hyper specialized agent that does something like, I don't know, support for Shopify stores that sell to consumers, which may be quite specific. And maybe there's like a company that could build this agent, maybe a one-person company, as we just discussed. If you do that, and there is a Shopify brand that is now able to replace the human and their current SaaS tool, spending, I don't know, a total of 100K a year, they might be willing to spend 50K a year on this agent. And that is SaaS, right? It's just software. So I think there is a case for lots and lots and lots of hyper specialized companies that build these things that do work, right? Like, and I think that this is, in my mind, the first step that will happen. It's just not 100-person company anymore that builds these SaaS apps, right? I think this is like an economy where you have lots and lots and lots of companies that have like a ceiling of like 10 million in ARR, because there's just not that many customers that they could potentially acquire. This is not great for like a VC case, right? Like a VC wouldn't want to invest. You're not getting into Y Combinator for a company that you are like, I don't know, making maybe 10 million. But if you're a person, 10 million a year is an insane amount of money. So I think this is like for builders that actually solve a niche problem for a niche audience in a very, very smart agentic way. I think it's the golden age for that in the next couple of years, because capital will be freed up. You don't need to sell seats for humans, and then there's already this psychological thing in everyone's minds that a seat for a SaaS tool should only be like $20 because that's what other SaaS tools sell their seats for. But if your case is, I can sell you software that does all the support for your sneakers brand, and you don't need to worry about support at all anymore, people might be willing to pay a lot more money for that.
And I think, so that's the founder perspective. I think there are a lot of opportunities for people to become founders, but I think there's also, can be also a positive scenario for employees. I think in general, there will be more companies and smaller companies, but employees at the smaller companies, they will be monitoring agents. The person doing the accounting for a company, they will be an agent monitor. And I think that the user interface for agent monitoring could be a chat box. That also means, and that's everything that they do the whole day is chatting with a chatbot and just taking care that the accounting works. And he's the one or she's the one responsible that the accounting works and monitoring the agent. That also means people might don't have to spend time in front of computers anymore in the professional lives. They could just do their work on the go from their mobile phones, but they steer this correctness, they ensure this correctness by chatting, which could be done from anywhere.
Yeah. And I think that this is super likely now. Like I wouldn't have thought this to be true a month ago before like seeing OpenClaw. But now I would say in the last week, I don't know, half my work that I did in front of a screen, it's still happening in front of a screen, I think out of habit. but it's happening inside a WhatsApp chat that I have with my OpenClaw, and it's like the medium fundamentally changed. And so many tools that I would have to click on stuff before and like do things and like whatever, I don't. It's WhatsApp for me in like most cases. And when there's something not working, I don't go in a tool. I don't go into, I don't know, some deployment fails of like a wipe coded thing that my OpenClaw codes for itself. Before I would have always, I don't know, opened, I don't know, Vercel or wherever it's hosted, Cloudflare, and then look at what is working and what is the error. And now I just chat, hey, this is down. Can you fix it, please?
Yeah.
And then it does stuff and it's up again. So I think the road you paint there with people working from their smartphones or like a chat is super likely also for just this improvement in quality of life, right? Like if you just chat every now and then to check something, is much nicer than sitting in front of a screen for 10 hours. If you are on a walk and like you do something and you were actually productive. And I think this is the first time also that I had this feeling where I wasn't sitting in front of my screen for 4 hours and I felt incredibly productive. I took a bath yesterday for 3 hours, like sitting in my bathtub, chatting with my agent, and I've never felt that productive before, ever in like that 3 hour window. It was insane. Is it great that I'm like on my phone, like in this bath where I maybe should do other, I don't know, like just relax or whatever? Maybe not, but it's also, I think, a time of change. But if then all my life is like this, and then half the time I'm on my phone and half the time I'm not, I'm very happy with that future.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also noticing it for myself. I'm currently paying for different AI subscriptions, and I use them for different tasks. I couldn't tell how I do this logic, but sometimes it's very clear for me for every task where I'm now brainstorming with it. And I'm spending a couple of hours every day just chatting with an LLM through my phone and just to clear thoughts, to get clarity on very complex topics where I would not have been able to get clarity before. I just recently bought a house. I do not know how it was possible to buy a house without an LLM. It just solved so many problems and resolved so many questions for me. And suddenly I felt very secure and certain about what I'm doing. And so it also makes fun. So it's also fun to chat with LLMs. And I want to bring up one other thought we discussed yesterday on WhatsApp. I think that we're all very clear that agent networks will be extremely capable in turning data from the real life into something valuable. Let's say an invoice into a finished accounting. Or turning a picture of your food into a database of how much you ate. But there's still this bridge between real life and software. OpenClaw solves this bridge by using like regular chat interfaces or known chat interfaces, Telegram, WhatsApp.
I think it's why they are successful. I think there's others that try to build agent things. And also I think it's this simplicity of it. There were other companies before, right? Like N8N or Zapier, that like where you had to build shit and like graphical user interface and like do stuff, and it felt like work. It felt like the last 10 years. It didn't feel any different, even though it was agentic or whatever, but it was still just, it didn't feel different. But this just feels different because you chat to something and then it does something and you don't need to like set up like different rules and whatnot. I think this is why it works. But I think like this interface is a big reason for it being so successful, because I can just sit on my phone and vibe code like from my WhatsApp chat, which would you have told me a year ago that I can like vibe code a very, very working product from a WhatsApp chat? I would have told you that you're crazy.
Yeah, I just think, well, that's maybe up for debate, but I think there could be still a lot of work for humans for this interface.
It's just the end user. You just need someone interacting with some interface to put information in there. Is it someone taking a picture or someone like writing a message or someone doing something to get the data in there? I think like this WhatsApp, Telegram, whatever else. I think OpenClaw supports anything and everything in terms of like wherever you can send texts. This is just the interface that we have today because it was there, right? It was something that he could use to build this very quickly. I think there will be so much better interfaces in like 2 years, 3 years from now, much more optimized towards this use case. Because WhatsApp isn't optimized towards this use case, optimized towards me and you having our disagreement on where we are all going. This is what WhatsApp is optimized for. And you feel it also with OpenClaw, right? Because like, for example, it is not streamed. Like when I talk to it, it says typing for like 12 minutes sometimes. And then it sends me 400 messages of all the things that it like wrote because it like finishes its thoughts and then only then sends it. Like there's these things, right, that are not perfect. So I think there will be much better interfaces to get data to agents. So I really don't think that there is a human job to in between there. It will just be better interfaces on your phone. I don't know, maybe things like the Meta glasses will suddenly be much, much more popular because if there is a stupid amount of intelligence connected to it, you will want to wear something to make your agent see. I think this is where it's heading.
Do you know Granola? Have you used it?
Yeah, I use it.
And it really changed how I do meetings because it turns meetings into an agent input or an LLM input. I use almost every transcript of every meeting to debrief, to create tasks, to actually finish the tasks, to brainstorm. And I'm starting to also notice how I use this in a meeting. I'm thinking about, hey, this is being transcribed currently. So I also talk in a way that it can be a nice prompt afterwards. And so Granola created an interface. I know it's just transcription. It's simple, but they integrate so well. You don't even notice it. You have all your meetings perfectly transcribed automatically. And I think there will be a place for this product.
I agree.
For example.
And I think like this is I think like the changes that are so subtle, right? Like there was meeting transcriptions for years, like ever since LLM existed, and they were not bad either, but like they do things differently, right? It's like this interface that is just much better for the task, and it just feels different. It feels lightweight. It feels easy to get the information out that you want. And I think these kind of interfaces is what will make agent companies win against other companies, where other companies will do things the old way, right? In terms of like how they build products, like how you build products in 2015. And there will be companies that will build an agentic CRM that just looks like HubSpot and Salesforce, just with AI stuff in there. They will not win. Like because HubSpot and Salesforce are like there to win against those companies. And then there will be actually a company that builds a CRM with agents in mind, where agents can like store and share information on customers so they can actually do something with it, like understand their problems from a call and then connect this to their, I don't know, renewal, and then connect it to features they have in the product to show it to them in the next meeting or whatever, right? This is what SaaS will become, right? Like solving these kind of problems is the ones that PMs can solve in the next 5 years. And to be honest, that's great, right? Like I think like the last 10 years, every software company solved the same fucking problem 15 times. Like, I don't know, like I've discussed so many, how do we position filters and search on this screen kind of conversations. I had this conversation like 400 times in my career for sure. Like, how do we, I don't know, show this information here? I just think it's great that we have a refresh in what software should be and that we can all learn again, because now I think what is so exciting is that it's not all been built already. It's not a place where you now look at, these are all these small things that all these most successful companies build, and this is what they did, and this is what they did. And then you need to like hyper optimize like everything and anything. No, it's greenfield, and as green as 1998, where you can suddenly be creative and like find things that no one else found before and build things no one has thought of before. I think building those new interfaces for human agent interaction and co-work is what being a SaaS PM or like a PM that builds things for others means in the next 5 years.
What's your advice to all the product managers out there?
be the most curious you have ever been. I think like the fear of change, right, can make one do very irrational things like deny the change. I think this is the most irrational thing to do with change that is very natural. Like I talked to someone, I think now maybe 2 weeks ago, about vibe coding. And I was like, it's crazy how like my OpenClaw vibe codes things like by itself. This person is a product manager. They're like, nah, I don't know. I don't think vibe coding works. Like I tried once, and I think this person, like we came to the conclusion that they tried like, I think beginning of 2024 or something like this, and haven't tried ever since, like have never installed Cloud Code. I think they discounted that this works, and then for them we're like, the word is fine and everything's great, and I just continue the way I worked for the last years because it anyways doesn't work. And I think this is not how you will be successful in my mind. Be curious. Every new trend that now comes up isn't just hype anymore. I think there were years and years of like where we all like got burned by one trend after the other. Like, I don't know, there were, I think this blockchain years. And then there was a first AI wave in like 2018 that was like just not it. And like there were crypto and I don't know, there were so many super hype trends that didn't really change like fundamentally what software is or like how we do things. I think this is for the first time we are way beyond the hype, because I think everyone feels how their job changes, or at least I like see how jobs change very rapidly. So I would say stay at the frontier, stay at like the, I don't know, most, I don't know, greatest and best models and applications to use them. And if you do that, I will say you're fine, right? And if today you know what OpenClaw is, you will probably be fine. Like there is a small percentage of humans on this planet that know it, even though it's like the most hyped thing in like this bubble, right? So I think if you are listening to something like this, right, and like if you try to be better, you will probably be fine. Just don't be comfortable, right? Just don't relax on, I already have like 10 years of career behind my back and I will be fine and I will always find like a PM job that works like the one I had for 10 years. I just say don't be that and be curious. Be positive about how this is just making your job so much better. I, for myself, had never so much fun being a product manager ever.
Yep. Also, maybe one, maybe a bit crazy advice, and which is forget all product frameworks you learned, or almost all. I think they're optimized for a word that doesn't exist anymore. It's a very, very different word today. Crazy ideas or ideas that sounded crazy a year ago, we're rebuilding the entire app. No-goes that were not possible a year ago, they are now possible. Just try it. Be the crazy person. You need to take risks currently. It's also the best time to take risks, and risk always lets you grow, always lets you learn something new. Be the guy who takes risks currently. It's the likelihood that it turns out positively is much, much higher compared to some months ago.
Awesome.
Okay, with that, thank you all for listening and see you soon.
Thank you so much.